What is the best way to transition off of hormonal birth control? And is there an individualized approach that you can be taking to optimize your hormones so that you can leverage them like the superpowers they are and make friends with your period? I'm Dr. Jolene Brighten, and it's time that we dive into all of that as we go into chapter 11 of Beyond the Pill, which is the principles of getting started with the Brighten protocol. So, the Brighten protocol is something that I developed in my years of clinical practice. So, I am a naturopathic physician with a background in nutritional biochemistry who has worked with thousands of women with hormone imbalance, autoimmune disease, and a history of using hormonal birth control. Now, in this chapter, chapter 11, the principles of getting started, we are going to go through, everything that's in this chapter, and then we're going to answer some questions and do some Q&A. So, the 30-day Brighten program is an individualized plan that will help you get off birth control, eliminate unwanted hormone symptoms, and make friends with your period. Now, the very first thing that you do when you get into this book is you go into chapter 1 and you take the quiz. So I say, depending on what you discovered in the hormone quiz at the beginning of this book, you will follow my specific guidelines for diet, lifestyle, and supplements that will help you take back your hormones. So we do this in an individualized fashion. This is something that is very unique to a health book, and where I actually take you through lots of quizzes so you can refine and fine tune what's going to be the best approach for you. Now, this program was developed in my clinic. So in Rubis Health, we developed this working one-on-one with patients. We broke it down, and we actually formed a online program for this. So we took the program that we were using with patients and all the protocols I've been documenting for years with women, and we broke it into an online program called the Birth Control Hormone Reset. Now, in that program, why we did that is so that we could fine tune further, so I could put it all in a book so that you could have it in your hands. Now, once I wrote the book and the book is coming out, I structured the birth control hormone reset program to complement the book so that they go hand in hand. There is no shame in needing more support. Some of us do, and some of us can't just pick up a book and implement everything. I will tell you, the book has everything you need. But if you do need more support, you want video tutorials with me, audio Q&A sessions, and be able to get access to even more recipes, even more lifestyle plans, and have someone hold your hand every single day. You get an email in that online program from me every single day for 5 weeks. So I make sure that you're on track and you get those emails as a reminder. Now, in this chapter, we go into how to follow the program. So, how is it that we should approach it? And I talk you through the meal plans, and I give you a sample day as well that you're going to go through so that you can see how to structure your day. And then I go into, let me just mention here. First 14 days, that's going to be a detox plan. I give you lifestyle practices for specific hormone imbalance. I give you a comprehensive supplement guide to individualize your needs. And we're going to talk about seed cycling, moon magic, and other tricks to help you balance your hormones. So, I've been seed cycling and cycling with the moon for a decade now of my life. It is amazing, amazing stuff. And I teach about that in my book. So if you've been like, I want to learn more about all this cycling with the moon, I got you. You into seed cycling? You want to check it out? I got you. I was actually doing an interview with my good friend, Dr. Carrie Jones, yesterday. And we ended with me talking about how my mentor published a book on seed cycling 20 years ago, and that was after 20 years of practice that he had been using it. So some old school naturopathic medicine right there. Now we go into how to get off the pill. This is a really common question that I get. And in this chapter, by the way, I always know when you skip this chapter and you went right into the protocol, because you'll ask me, how do I actually get off of hormonal birth control? I answer all of that here. And I go through the different considerations of what you might want to consider before you come off, why you wouldn't want to just come off right away, and what you can do now to start feeling better. Now, we also talk about detoxing your life. This is very, very important. This is not something that gets a lot of play when people are talking about health and women's health, but it's not just about detoxing environmental toxins or detoxing your makeup. I'm wearing makeup right now, non-toxic. It's also about detoxing people in your life that just aren't serving you and toxic thoughts. Like, it has to be holistic in that way. But I also give you liver-loving foods to help with your detoxification. And I remind you that saying no is always enough. So if somebody challenges you about your food sensitivities, about what you're doing, you can say no, thank you. If they ain't into it, that's enough. You ain't got to engage anymore. I also take you into the foods for hormone balance, and I remind you of the foods to eat that are going to be helpful. Now, this is something I do very differently than other physicians and really people in the health space is that rather than focusing on taking away every single food that we can, I focus in on first, what can we bring in to build you up? I think this happens way, way too much in the health community where we're like, this food's the devil, take it away, don't eat it. And really, no food is bad. We just have to test what is true for you. And like, what if, like, what if you take it out and bring it back in? Do you feel better? Or do you feel worse? And so, very much the Brighton program is focused in on not depriving yourself or taking away foods, but how can we really build up foods and what are the healthiest foods? So, we've got 2 pages here of like what I want you to bring in and start eating to optimize your hormones. Then we go into the foods to remove. So I purposely put this second, and this comes after the foods that we add in because we don't need to be focused on what's going away. We need to be focused on what is moving out of the way so we can bring in more nutrient dense foods. I also give you tips on curbing your cravings. So I know that if you have cravings going on, I talk to you about what those cravings might mean and what to do about it. I also talk about caffeine free, and I give you caffeine free coffee replacements. I give you all kinds of beverages. Coffee's not bad. And anybody who tells you that, they're wrong because you can't make a generalization like that. Coffee isn't bad, and coffee isn't bad just because you're a woman, and it's not gender specific in this. But coffee might not work for you. Caffeine might not work for you. And we have to test that and know if that's true. I was sharing with somebody that personally take out coffee from my diet once a year. Once a year, I remove coffee and I bring it back in and I see how I do. I have specific genes in my liver that make me a super metabolizer when it comes to caffeine. So when I was living in Paris, I could totally get down with drinking espresso at 10 o'clock at night and go right to bed. Not an issue for me. But that might not be true for you. And that's what we're trying to answer here. A lot of times in the health community, when people come to you with information, it's often to their own bias and their personal experience where they're like, oh, caffeine didn't work for me. For example, if it's a woman with PCOS, she might be telling everybody like coffee's bad and caffeine's bad for women. That's because with PCOS, if it spikes your blood sugar, it can lead to excess androgens. But is that true for every woman with PCOS? No. In fact, coffee can be helpful with the liver detoxification, with brain health. So it's not like this, not, we need to stop with this, like, nobody do this and this is bad. We need to focus on, hey, what can we do to build ourselves up to bring in incredible food? And what do we need to take out and test? And you guys will hear me say in the book, like, I live in the Pacific Northwest. Coffee is literally liquid sunshine. Like, I live in Portland, Oregon. Don't step to our coffee. So when people come to me, when I see your messages online and you're like, I kind of hate that you made me take out coffee, I feel you. I totally feel you on that. But it's just temporary. And we've got some other things to bring in that actually will enhance your hormones. No, I take you through what to expect and I give you the real talk on what to expect. Like, don't expect that you're going to reverse all of your acne in a matter of weeks or that your next period will be completely different than the last one. Like, healing takes time. And if we look at Vitex alone, that herb in the research has been shown to take up to 3 months to take effect. So we really want to set the expectation here of, what it looks like to heal the body naturally. And I know that it sells more books to sell false promises and to tell people, oh, I will change your entire life and no symptoms will exist in 30 days. Like, no, like, you're still going to have some stuff to work on, but in 30 days, you are going to feel a whole lot better. There's going to be a whole lot of improvement, but we need to set the expectation that if you've been struggling with symptoms for 10 years, that's not going to be gone in 10 days. In fact, you're going to need to spend a good 10 months of loving your body up, feeling better every step along the way. Now, I take you through, you got to exercise. We talk about kicking stress to the curb. I talk to you about embracing your rebel goddess and getting in sync with your cosmic rhythm. We actually have an online program called the Cosmic Cycle Sync, where I talk about how to sync up with your moon cycle and how to just really get in tune talk about lunaception in this and light pollution and how that impacts women's hormones. I take you through what does it mean to be a red moon goddess, where you're having your period on the full moon versus a white moon goddess, where you're having your period on the new moon. Did you know we cycle with the moon? Because we do. And the way that we cycle with the moon actually tells us a lot about the work that we're here to do. And this is something we actually miss out on when we're on hormonal birth control. We are not synced up with the cosmos in quite the way that we are when we have a natural cycle. I also talk to you about what happens when your moon cycle shifts. And then I take you through just a little overview of the cosmic cycle sync. We've got to talk about resetting your circadian rhythm. This is part of the secret sauce to healing after birth control and optimizing your hormones overall. Now, why is circadian rhythm so important? As I talked about, previously in the pages before, I get into how to reset that. The light dark cycle governs your cortisol, your melatonin, and it can mess with your fertility. So, your inability to ovulate. And if you're new to the game, my world is what I should really say. And you're like, but I don't want a baby, so I don't want to ovulate. That is silly, silly talk. Don't ever say that again, because you want to ovulate in your fertile years because you want your progesterone. It's the only way to have ample progesterone, which makes you feel amazing. So we need, and you guys are probably, if you've been with me for a bit, you're like, she says this every time. That is because that dogmatic story keeps getting spun that like women should shut down their ability to ovulate no matter what. That's what puts us at a disadvantage in life. And I don't want you at a disadvantage. I talk to you about charting and tracking your menstrual cycle. And then I remind you that you got this. Are you ready to dive into the 30-day program? You can totally do this. And if you ever feel like you need additional support, we have a community you can join. I have an online support group. Plus, you can always work with my health coaches or my clinic. Now, with that, the online community, you can go to drbrighten.com/community and you can get in on that if you need more support. Tomorrow, we're actually going to go into the 30-day program. But let's chat. Have you gotten into chapter 11? Have you read about the principles of getting started? Did you read about moon cycling? What are your questions for me? Let's dive into some Q&A. And I'd love to hear from you if you've already jumped into the 30-day Brighten program. How have you been feeling? What has been working for you? What are things that have been a challenge? Like, not everything is going to be like sunshines, rainbows, and unicorns, right? Like, I think about I like to listen to rap and hip hop, and there's a line. I'm not going to quote what that line is, but I'll say to people like, "Healing ain't easy." Like healing ain't easy, because sometimes it's just not. You don't have a supportive community, or it's new to you, and we shouldn't act like. I think it's a really big disservice when we act like this is so easy, anyone can do it. Like depends. I live in a bubble. I live in Portland, Oregon, and getting access to great food is super easy. And there's gluten free everywhere. Totally easier than somebody who lives in a community that nobody knows when you go to a restaurant what has gluten in it. What if the toxic person is a parent you live with? So like you're the child and they're the parent. Is that what you're talking about? Oh, I have my nice mic going over here on YouTube, and I bet you could totally hear me sipping there. So, if someone you live with is toxic, you can start to practice boundary setting. It's going to be hard, but it's also going to be something that's like a gift to you. Start practicing boundary setting. Start noticing how somebody triggers you and what comes up with that, how you respond. You can't control other people, but you can always control your response with that. What if you have a lot of food allergies and sensitivities? I'm not sure what you're asking me with that, but if you have a lot of food allergies, actually, let me break this down for a second because this is one of the most common misunderstandings that people have, and then make it so that like your doctor doesn't listen to you. Food sensitivities and food allergies are not the same thing. If you have a true food allergy, that is an IgE, is an echo mediated immune response that causes anaphylactic shock, hives, your lips, tongue, everything's gonna swell. It's real deal. You die. Okay. And if you have a real food real food allergy, you get an EpiPen prescribed to you. So we need to be very clear in our language, because if you go to your doctor and you say, I have a gluten allergy, and you don't get hives and things like that, they're going to start dismissing you because they're going to already be like, she's reading stuff on Google and she doesn't understand. Is that your bad? That's not your bad. Okay. That's actually an education opportunity on your doctor's part. But like, If they're conventionally minded or they're closed minded, they might not get that. Now, a food sensitivity is an IgG, as in goodness, mediated response. And that is something that is reversible. Food allergies are not always reversible. Food sensitivities can be reversible, and food sensitivities are a result of intestinal hyperpermeability. As we talked about in the gut check chapter, please go back and watch that video and you'll understand a lot more about how hormonal birth control can contribute to that and how we need to heal our gut. And I teach you how to do that in Beyond the Pill, and that is part of the 30-day program. Now, to be really, really clear here, if you have food sensitivities and the solution by the practitioner you're working with is to continue to take out foods without questioning the root cause or what's going on, you're only going to develop more food sensitivities, nutrient depletions. You're going to mess with your microbiome and you're going to stand zero chance in actually healing your gut. That is the real talk. So, food is not the enemy. It is never the enemy. It is always an opportunity to signal to your body if the environment is safe and really what is going on. So I just want to differentiate that. If you have a true food allergy, don't eat the food that's in the program. Please don't do that. If you have a true shellfish allergy, don't eat the shrimp. Substitute it with something else. You can make a substitution for the proteins in that. So you're not bound by the dietary guidelines in here to eat something you have an allergy to. Please do not do that. That is bad. You won't find peanuts in there. Peanuts are a top allergen. You won't find soy in the protocol. That's also a top allergen. You won't find gluten in there. That's a top allergen. So the top foods that actually are known to, so there's 7 of them that cause allergic reactions in people, the most common. The only one that is in there is going to be shellfish and other tree nuts. So those will be in there. But if you have a true allergy, don't eat those. If you have a food sensitivity, avoid those. Try bringing it back in at the end of the protocol and see the supplement table on what to do for gut healing and see the gut healing chapter. So I'm scrolling through. You love my lipstick color. This one comes from my good friend Steph Gaudreau. I actually have her book on my shelf. Her Core 4 is coming out soon. I love her. She's one of my BFFs, and she sent this to me. Go over to her, and she will tell you what lipstick color, what all of this is that she sent to me. I have no idea. She sent it to me. It's clean. I put it on. I was like, this is some of the best lipstick I've ever worn. So go DM her. I'm just laughing because she's going to be like, why did I get all these DMs on all of this? You just started your cycle today and the moon is waxing. What could that mean? I read that chapter, but I can't recall if it was mentioned. Interested to know. I go through that in my Cosmic Cycle Sync program because, as I told you guys, there's some stuff that had to get cut out of Beyond the Pill. I actually had an entire chapter on moon cycles in the book. It didn't make the final cuts. Wasn't my say. I was like, I really want this in here, but my editors are like, the book is way too big. We can't actually someone can't hold it in their hand. The whole thing will fall apart. Did you guys know that? If you make a book too big, that the binding will fall apart, the whole thing will fall apart. So I also didn't want that for you. All of these things I learned. So with that, so read this section about, is your moon cycle changing? You can be going from new moon to full moon to new moon, and making a transition depending on where you're setting your intentions and what you're being called to do on a bigger level. So definitely read that section of the book. And remember, waxing is like, we want to think about what is the moon doing? We're expanding in all and so think about what the moon is actually doing, and that will help guide you in oh, that's why I'm actually synced up in some of this. That's like the short little Cliff Notes version. So the Pity Girls, the questions about how long to take the supplements, that was answered yesterday. Please go to YouTube, watch the yesterday's video, which is all about libido and fertility. And we did answer that same question there. So go ahead and check that out. Yeah. So if you have both food allergies and food sensitivities, it is going to be hard to follow specific recipes. So this is Missy coming back, responding to what I was answering before. It is let's just acknowledge that it is. And there's going to be almost no book out there. I would venture to say absolutely no book out there that is going to have recipes that are going to match your food allergies and your food sensitivities, in every single recipe. That's just, it's probability wise impossible. However, Missy, you like, here, healthy fats, here's what's helpful, and here's a variety of things to eat. Here are, vegetables that are really positive for the liver, and here's a variety of things to eat. I teach you the principles so that you don't form a dependency on the recipes in the book. Like, that would be a disservice to you for me to say everybody has to eat this way all the time and you have to only follow these recipes in this book. That wouldn't work. That's not what I'm about. Like, I need to teach you how you can do this on your own. Teach a man to fish action right here, but like, that's why it's set up in the book, so that you can actually learn why we're doing these things and then start to fine tune and tailor it so it meets you. It's impossible to write a book that is a one size fits all for everybody. I try to instead make it a individualized as possible approach, but even then, people are still going to have nuances. They're complicated. So I taught you the principles so that you can implement those and make them work for you. And again, if you have food allergies, please don't eat those foods. It doesn't mean that, like, oh, you're missing out on something because you have a food allergy that you can't get somewhere else. You can, and I give you those options. So perfect. So Jessica's saying, she's trying to follow the program. When you say trying, are you following the program? Are you like dipping a toe in? I'm curious what that actually means. I'm on the first month of no birth control. And why I asked that is because I already read the rest of this. And because you said you have a short, light period and some spotting. Should you just jump into seed cycling and try to normalize my cycle? Do you guys, seed cycling ain't going to hurt you unless you have an allergy to seeds. Jump into seed cycling on hormonal birth control, off of hormonal birth control, never did hormonal birth control. I've been doing it for 10 years now. It is something that, like, I have seen it work so well for women so many times. There's never a bad time to start seed cycling. Yesterday is the best time to start, right? So just go ahead and start it now. Um, so with the supplement protocol, so I talk about in the book, so there's a question about, like, do we follow the supplements on the bottle, like what it says to take, or do we follow what the book says to take? Well, what I will say is that if you buy a different supplement, because they give you lots of recommendations here, then you need to follow whatever that manufacturer says. The recommendations I have are what we use in my clinic. Now, you just said that the book says they take 3 capsules of the prenatal daily. It actually says take 3 capsules twice daily. So make sure you're reading the full line on that. 3 capsules twice daily is what it says there. I'm not like calling you out. I hope it doesn't feel like I'm calling you out, but just to clarify that, because odds are if you're asking that question, other women had that question as well. Yeah, food is medicine, the right foods for you. Amen to that. Yes. And that's why, I mean, there have been women that have written and they're like, I wish you would have just said, like, everybody just eat this food and eat this amount every single day and tell me portion sizes. And I'm like, I don't know you. I'm 5'5" and I know my muscle mass. You might be 6 foot tall and have substantial muscle mass on me. We're going to have different metabolisms. I think one of the most dangerous things we have done with food and women's mindset and mental health is tell them they can only eat so many ounces of this and so many ounces of that. I say this as somebody trained in clinical nutrition who certainly did that with women. Oh, you can only eat chicken the size of the palm of your hand. But what about when her body's telling her, I want to eat chicken the entire size of my hand? Who am I? And who is some like food pyramid or anyone else to tell her? Intuitive eating is the secret sauce to eating happy and working with your body. You are a cyclical creature, and what you need is going to change every day. It's going to change with physical activity. It's going to change if you're sick. There's a lot of variables taking place. What I want to encourage you to do in the book, I don't give portion sizes because, like, you need to intuitively figure out like what is working best for you. I give you the composition, like, and I talk about things like half your plate should be vegetables. Like, we talk about that balance, but look at a child. If you put healthy food in front of them, look what they do. So we know from a psychology perspective and studies that have been done, so one of the most dangerous undermining things that we can do to a child is actually mandate that they finish what's on their plate or mandate that they eat a certain amount of stuff. Like, that messes with their intuition and their knowing. They know things about their body like you do that no one else could know. So when you display a plate to a child, so with my child, we might put sardines on there, some nuts on there, some fruit in forms of cucumber and tomato, putting some leafy greens on there. Like and you guys have seen my photos on Instagram where I put a like little sampler plate of everything, and then he picks and he chooses, and he'll tell me what he wants more of. And sometimes people who observe this will say to me, well, aren't you concerned that like all he wants to do is eat tomatoes right now? Or aren't you concerned that like he just ate 4 cans of sardines? I'm not concerned. These are healthy foods. These are great choices. And what do I know about what do I know better about living inside his body than he does? So that's my little like, hey, you know your body and you need to like food is a great way when you eat to practice mindfulness and to cultivate your own intuition. I hope that makes sense to you guys. This is I didn't actually expect to talk about all of these things, but I just want to say just like yesterday, I enjoy the conversation you guys bring. You ask really good questions and you really are thoughtful in how you're approaching your health and your body. So I just want to honor you and say thank you so much. Um I've been suffering from facial skin inflammation during ovulation. What could cause this? Is there a chapter that speaks on this? Please go see chapter 4, Taking Back Your Period. And also, you want to see the lowdown on your hormones because you will understand what is happening with your hormones around them. It's probably an estrogen issue, spiking estrogen prior to ovulation, and it's part of ovulation. So definitely check that out. I talk about those kinds of things. If you understand your menstrual cycle and what's going on with your hormones, you can be your own health detective. You can totally figure this stuff out. And that's what I taught you how to do in the book. Yeah. So is it possible being on birth control for 10 plus years caused me to get hypothyroidism? I need you to go check out the Revitalize Your Adrenal and Thyroid chapter. We did a video, it's on YouTube. Please go listen to that. We talk all about hormonal birth control and how it impacts thyroid health. My YouTube people are quiet today. All the questions are coming from Instagram. Thank you, Megan. So, Megan is saying here, like, she's dropping in links for all of you. Yeah, very Satria.7. You are not welcome here. You don't get to make lewd comments about my body or any other woman's body here. So you can jog on today. No, thank you. We don't need that up in our space. And but if you do want to leave a comment, your next one can be like your contact information of your mother, so I can call her up and tell her she needs to give you a talking to. We don't stand for that. We don't stand for that. So seed cycling. I'm going to have to Google that. LOL. Missy, go to drbrighten.com. I've got a couple articles on seed cycling. I've got an article on seed cycling for women who have periods, and then an article for my perimenopause and menopausal women. So I saw some questions about menopausal health. Go check out that seed cycling article. Megan, would you mind putting the links in there for our YouTube people? That would be awesome. What if your period is unpredictable? How do you seed cycle? I talk all about this in my program called the Period Problem Solution. What we do is we sync you up with the moon. And I teach you how to do that in Beyond the Pill as well. I want you guys to understand I put out multiple resources for you guys because we all need different things. So some of you might read an article, be able to implement, rock it, feel awesome. Some of you might be like, I need to get into the book. I need to do the book on Audible, or I need to read through the book and I need to approach it that way. And others may be like, I need an online program, something where I can get video tutorials, I can get a community, and I can make sure that like I'm on the right track and getting a lot more education than I can provide, in a different guys in multiple capacities. So that way you can get support because we all learn differently. Grace is saying, just want to say thank you so much for your help. I was feeling extremely bloated and uncomfortable after getting off the pill, but now I feel so much better and back to my old self. Woo! Okay. Instagram, let's give Grace some hearts because that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that story. And I'm so glad that with what you learned and Beyond the Pill, you could ditch that belly bloat that comes up as part of post-birth control syndrome. They're giving you tons of hearts. Grace is over on YouTube. So Instagram's showing you all kinds of love. I wish that YouTube had hearts and things like that so that we could really be working together on that. So by trying to meet my BF makes a lot of meals for me. I feel terrible turning down the gluten he includes, but the meals are balanced. Oh, okay. Your boyfriend is making you food. Holla, everybody. Let's praise that. That's awesome. And the thing is Jessica, give him a copy of Beyond the Pill and ask him if he'll start making those recipes. The 30-day plan includes no gluten. So you'll be able to do that. The 30-day plan, my husband and my son eat these same recipes as me. They work for men's hormones and women's hormones. So while it's designed for women, men can get a lot out of this as well. The other thing is, I don't have the books around me. I was looking for here's one. I have so many friends that write cookbooks. So here's one book, the Hashimoto's Food Pharmacology Protocol. That's my dear BFF, Dr. Isabella Wentz. Another book that's going to be coming out is the Core 4. That one is diet, exercise, and mindset. So that has some recipes for you as well. Nikki Truscott's Nutrient Dense Diet. That's another great resource. Anything from Diane Sanfilippo is a great resource. I love her books. She just does it so well. And then the other book I was going to say is that my friend Jen Iseroh, Iseroh, she just came out with The Alchemist Kitchen, I believe what it is. Oh, I might be messing up that title. That book is actually coming today for me. I'm super, super excited about that. So whenever you want to have somebody who's cooking for you support you, give them resources. Oh, Nom Nom Paleo. Michelle Tam, love Nom Nom's books. She makes everything so delicious that you don't even realize there's not gluten or any of that stuff in there. Do you have an email that I can send questions about the balance supplement? That would be info@drbrighten.com. If you guys have questions about supplements, that's where you want to message that in. You've changed your diet based on the Brighten protocol, and I live my parents and they're eating healthy now too. That is so awesome, Serena. So you changed your diet. This is what I'm talking about. When us ladies take steps to heal ourselves, unintended healing happens where we start to heal other people and other people take note and other people start to eat in that way. And for those of you, so my in-laws will be here, I believe, next week. I have to look at my calendar. They're vegetarian. My mother-in-law has never put meat in her mouth ever. My husband was actually 8th generation vegetarian before he had a gluten sensitivity. He was like, I can't do it. I can't be vegetarian and gluten-free and all these things. It made him feel stressed and crazy. And so he started eating meat. I was a vegetarian at the time. He started eating meat before me, but you will see, watch my stories, how we're going to be modifying things of how do you have simultaneously meat eaters and vegetarians in the house at the same time. It is totally doable. And so stay tuned for that because you'll see that in my stories coming up. But you'll also see how to modify some of these things and how I support my in-laws with the foods that we have as well. So, Miss Grace. Grace is on YouTube and on Instagram. You're awesome. Oh my God, you guys are so tech savvy. I just can't even. Everybody who's loving my lips, go bug Steph Gaudreau about it. She sent me this lipstick. I love it because other lipsticks, red lips. I love red lips, but it'll get on my teeth, and this does not. Yeah, awesome. You guys, I love it when the men in your life are cooking for you and taking care of you. My husband and I, we split all of that. And I just made, one thing that I did early on when we started dating is I made a Pinterest board because when we started dating, we were both vegetarians and I called him a carbitarian, and I showed up. He's like, I'm going to make you dinner. And it was so sweet, but I show up. Whole wheat pasta. This is back when we ate gluten. Whole wheat pasta with sauce and beans, and then a loaf of French bread. And there was no vegetables in all of that. And when you start dating someone and you're like, I don't want to be a jerk, but I had to tell him, I can't eat that. If I eat that, I'll feel awful. I'm not someone who can do high carbs. And so we had to transition over time. And what's funny is that he would cook that way. And I was like, well, maybe his mom cooks that way. No, his mom makes so many vegetables. No. This was just a college guy living on his own. Which makeup brand do I use? We'll do a whole nother video on that. I've done that for you guys before. I get blown away. You guys actually care what kind of makeup that I wear and the clothes that I wear. Because I'm always like, I'm such a nerd. I just learned how to do my makeup a few years ago. And so we can go through all of that another time. There's times where I just jump on Instagram Live and I do my makeup with you guys so you can see what I'm up to. Um, you're learning so much. Awesome. You and your husband split almost everything as well. We started that when we were roommates and have carried it into our marriage. So great. And this is something that you guys with the Brighten protocol that I really recommend that you like a principle of getting started is identifying who's your ally. Like who's going to support you in this. So when things get hard, you can talk to them. My patients, when they come into the clinic, I have them actually say they have to name who's going to support them and who's going to be able, like, who do they know in their life that's going to support them? How much support do they have? We need to know this because if somebody's like, I have a ton of support. Here's all these people that are going to support me and they're highly, highly motivated. We can hit the ground running so fast. But if they're like, I don't have any community. I have no one to support me. I'm feeling anxious. We've got to go slower in the changes that we implement. Give yourself permission wherever you are at to take the Brighten program at your own pace. There is perfection, and that works for some people. And then there is life. And I never want anybody to get into my blogs, my articles, my videos, my books, any of this stuff and feel like if I don't do everything perfectly, like I'm a failure. In my birth control hormone reset program, my patients tend to do everything. They're pretty compliant. In the birth control hormone reset program, and Megan, if you want to share that link, that would actually be helpful there. Because I keep talking about it. In there were women who were like, I only did about 70% of what you talked about, and my periods got 100% better. And I was like, wow, look at that. You don't, and I actually celebrate that of like, if I'm all for like, if you can figure out the minimum that you can do to feel better, like, yes, do it. Because we're all really, really busy people, right? Um, when you were extremely bloated from post-birth control syndrome, I thought I had IBS, cut out the inflammatory foods, and got an endoscopy, colonoscopy done for nothing. LOL. Well, not for nothing, because now you have data and you actually have a baseline. So this is something like I want to do a little reframe on that because patients will be like, I just wasted my time and my money and I got this lab done for nothing. Not for nothing. A negative is very powerful. A negative colonoscopy and a negative endoscopy means that if anything is slightly different in the future, we can identify, like we have the baseline, and now we can look back and say, this is where you were and this is where you are now. And that can often help you get help a lot sooner. So I just want to really reframe that for you. I've had multiple endoscopies in my life as well. They're not fun. Can I take your supplements with other adaptogenic herbs? Are there contraindications? So it just all depends. With that, you'll see that my adrenal support, my adrenal calm, they do have adaptogenic herbs in them. So if you're talking about those, you may not need additional adaptogenic herbs. With adaptogenic herbs, there are some contraindications for some of those that are very individualized. There is no contraindication to using adaptogenic herbs with my supplement line, but there might be a personal contraindication for you based on your health, and working with the doctor is the best way to know that. Do I talk about PMDD in my book? I do talk about it, but I talk about it in a way of framing, go into the mood chapter. So with PMDD, it's a highly, highly controversial diagnosis. So there's people who absolutely do not believe in it. There's people who feel like it's like something every woman has. It's very controversial right now. With PMDD, my perspective is no different than PMS, than anxiety, than depression, the debilitating panic attacks, that there is a root cause that we need to find for you. I would never deny that what you're feeling and what you're experiencing is real. It 100% is real. But the root cause, because like her doctor has diagnosed her with PMDD, instead I look at where is this coming from? Where is this really rooted in? And start to understand that. Because women with PMDD, they tend to have, well, they do have hormone imbalances in my clinical experience with the patients I've worked on with this. There's also things going on with cortisol, usually sleep, things that actually start to alter the female brain. Progestin, which is the synthetic progesterone and contraceptives, that alters the female brain itself. So I'm always cautious when somebody's like, my doctor put me on birth control. for my PMDD, I get really worried about that because I'm like, so we know that your hormones are impacting your brain in a specific way, and these synthetic ones can actually increase free radicals. They can increase oxidative stress. They can increase inflammation. They can cause you to make neurotoxins. They can alter the structure and the function of your brain. We shouldn't be adding in. Basically, it's like, you're trying to look into the water and see what's on the ocean floor, and then somebody comes in and like kicks up all the sand, and now it's so cloudy you can't see what's underneath that. So with PMDD, it is something that does have a root cause. It is something we need a lot more research, like most things women's medicine, so that we can understand. um I went from a red moon goddess to a white moon goddess thanks to the diet and prenatal. Is it okay if my urine changes colors because of the prenatal? Yes, you will find this. Oh, I talk about this, I think, like once a month in my online newsletters. So drbrighten.com/newsletter if you want to jump on those newsletters. And I answer this question. It also lives in blog posts and articles online. So, riboflavin, B2, the cyclical structure of that when you metabolizes it fluoresces in your urine. So, if you are taking B vitamins, which the prenatal contains B vitamins, we expect to see nuclear yellow urine sometimes or fluorescent urine. That is totally normal. It's not a bad thing and it's not a dangerous thing. And if your pee smells a little bit more while you're taking a prenatal or B complex, also a very normal thing. But always make sure that, like, if you do go to the restroom, if you go potty, again, I hang out with a 6-year-old and I just almost said that. But if you go pee and you see that it's like dark orange, like that's a problem. You need to be drinking more water. And if there is anything else in your urine where you're like, it was foamy, it was red, there was this or that, go to your doctor. That's a definitely test, get help. You're in doubt, and don't guess at what's going on. So, would it be possible to do a live with Dr. Kelly Brogan? Probably in the future. So Kelly's a dear friend of mine, and she'll have a book coming out later this year. So probably around that time, we'll be able to bring her on and have that discussion. There have been other places where I've interviewed her, she's interviewed me. So there is stuff out there where we have collaborated. She was part of the Post Birth Control Syndrome Awareness Week that we did as well. And there's a full interview with her. I think it's like an hour of us chatting with all of that. Um, okay, I'm just looking. I'm not sure what nail shot means. I'm trying to look at all your guys' questions here because I got a few minutes left here. And then I'm going to jump off and we'll be back tomorrow. So I'm a week into the paleo detox and 2 weeks into the supplements. The enrichment suggests for my imbalances. So I know you got the audio book, Jessica. I totally feel much less fluffy and have higher energy. The paleo detox makes me feel so good. It's something that I travel with. And so when you love the golden milk recipes and this Paz, that's awesome. I'm glad that you're enjoying the recipes. So the paleo detox is something we answered yesterday of how often to do that. I actually travel with it. When you travel, you get exposed to God knows what they're spraying on the plane, all kinds of stuff on the plane. You get exposed to things in the airport. You get exposed to foods that you're not used to eating. And so I take the paleo detox with me because I find I feel so, so much better when I use that while traveling. I love the paleo detox powder. Plus, it's always my savior if I find myself in an airport somewhere in the country that doesn't have like meal options I can actually eat. I can't eat gluten. And so the paleo detox is something that I can utilize. And because of the type of protein that's in there, it also helps with healing the gut and supporting gut integrity. And your gut takes a hit when you travel and you're stressed. You've been listening to the audiobook. It's fantastic. I think I have sluggish thyroid. Any supplement or food suggestions? So if you're listening to the audiobook, please get into the re-energize your thyroid and adrenals. There's also a full video on YouTube that you can go watch that. How do I use it? I mix it with water. Yeah, I often mix it with water. Sometimes I'll mix it with like a coconut milk or something like that. But a lot of times, I will just throw it in a like water bottle with a little wire whisk thing and just shake it up. Did I avoid gluten in France? I did not. I tested it and I was totally fine. And then, funny enough, I came back to the United States. I got gluten, had a little bit of gluten, end up in something, and ended up with extreme joint pain. So yeah, it's something that, like, we've definitely gotta look at. Oh, I'm so glad the recipes are yummy for you. That is awesome. We definitely have to look at, what is going on with gluten? Is it so in the United States, we've hybridized our wheat, so it's more concentrated in gluten. That doesn't work with a lot of recipes in France and their light, flaky, yummy, delicious pastries. It wouldn't work to have that level of gluten in there. So they haven't done that. They're also super guarded about their food because they take it really seriously. It's like next level respect for your food that I wish that, like, the United States would have like stuck with, instead of being like, how can we make food as cheap as possible and as convenient as possible? And they don't spray their wheat with glyphosate right before harvesting. In the United States, we spray a poison, known carcinogen, on our food, then harvest it and send it to production. So we've got higher concentration of gluten, higher amounts of that protein. We've got toxins coming on top of that. That toxin can cause impermeability in your intestines. Then you get hit with the gluten, your immune system sees it, and now we're in big trouble. Um, yeah, so why is the food better in France? I think I explained a bit about that to you. You have to go out of your way to get processed food in Paris. At least that's my experience. And if you are traveling and you go to Italy, it's very easy to get gluten-free food in Italy. Okay, so I am going to give you guys a little taste of things to come, which is a line out of Mortal Kombat. I'm not going to lie. So, we went over the principles of getting started. We are now in section 3 of Beyond the Pill. And in chapter 11, that's the principles of getting started. What you should know and what should you get ready for before you dive into the protocol. Tomorrow is chapter 12. We're going to go into the 30-day Brighten program. And then the next day is going to be about alternative birth control methods, because step 1 of coming off of birth control is having a backup method. So we're going to be going through all of that. You guys let me know. Send me some messages and let me know. Would it be helpful to have a day where we review the recipes and we go through some of that? I'm happy to do that if that works for you. Remember, if you haven't grabbed Beyond the Pill yet, it is on sale as we speak right now on Amazon for 35% off. Then you can go beyondthepillbook.com, get your gratitude gifts. There's a lab guide in there for you, nutrient depletions guide, recipes, exclusive interviews, all kinds of goodies for you, including a shopping list to help you with the recipes that are in the book. So grab that, make sure you do. And thank you. I've seen more of the Amazon reviews coming through. Thank you so, so much for that, because my team and I have had women writing us saying, wow, these reviews on Amazon I'm reading, they are what made me decide to buy this book and to feel confident that I could heal my hormones. And then these women are writing back later saying, like, and I'm so glad that I did because I'm feeling so much better. You're going to go back to chapter 1 and reread and take notes. Awesome. Will the book help with bloating prior to our cycle? Yeah. If you got period problems, girl, I got you in this book. Go watch the video on chapter 4, and that's where we talk about a lot of period problems, but there's also an entire chapter dedicated to gut health. Another question about who to send questions to for supplements, I answered that earlier, but as a reminder to everybody, info@drbrighten.com. That's my customer service, and that's the place to send the questions to. We can't give medical advice. Nobody can give medical advice unless they've actually met with you and they're your patient. That's the way it works. What about PCOS? Margarita, welcome to the club. We have covered a lot about PCOS as we've gone through this. There's a whole lot of PCOS talk in this book. So definitely go watch the Reversing Metabolic Mayhem video if you haven't yet, and check it out. And I'm sure there's women here with PCOS that could tell you how this book has helped them, because I'm giving you the root cause solutions to women's hormone struggles, hormone imbalances, beyond giving you birth control. And if you do choose to use birth control, then we got to make sure we keep you safe on the pill. Thank you for tagging your friends. Thank you for all the work you're doing and helping changing women's medicine. Yeah, we would not have the change that we've already been able to create if it wasn't for women like you. So just want to say how grateful I am to you. Want to honor you and just let you know I really, really appreciate all of this. If you haven't grabbed your bonuses yet, beyondthepillbook.com. And if you're just jumping in now, go to my YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and know that you can get access to all of the chapters that we've covered. The videos are up there and they're ready for you. And I would love to see your questions and comments as you have them and you watch the videos there.